Kia ora. Coming to you with a layout created in response to these Crafty IQ challenges. So there were 7 different things shared over the first sort of 7 days of August, and they were all contributed by different people. And so these kind of form the components of a layout. Now, some people are very clever and are able to craft along as each of the different elements are released, but I tend to sit down at the end of it once they've all come through and work on my layout in response to it. So it's kind of like a recipe challenge in a way, but I love that all these different ideas have come from lots of different people. So one of the components is that I had to use a piece of pattern paper on a cardstock frame or a cardstock background. So that's what I've done with the spotty paper. Another feature was that I had to use polka dots. And so the paper I've used in the back could have sort of got away with the polka dots, but I decided that it was more my paper in response to a little splash of yellow and a little splash of orange. So we're able to use yellow or orange or both, and I've used both, and I will bring in both of these colours again in some other elements on this page. So I've decided to create sort of a shelf or a ledge that the polka dot paper is going to sit on, that my photo will be on, as well as a sort of a wrinkled up but on an angle. And the reason I've wrinkled it up is so it's a little bit like the texture of the piñata dinosaur that's there in the picture. So my daughter had this dinosaur and she never actually used it for her 21st, but she had it there and it was sitting in the lounge and it was filled with lollies, and our 2 grey cats just thought that this thing was kind of fantastic and interesting. They loved chewing on bits of paper and stuff, so it provided lots of that, plus it had lollies in it, and so they loved pulling these out and sort of batting them around the lounge. But in this picture they're just sort of having a bit of a showdown or a standoff, staring at each other over the back of the dinosaur. So part of it also was that I needed to use a flag, and I'm going to use some of these tags or these banners as a flag on this layout. I've also used 3 other sort of die cut pieces that I found from the Wanda collection and some die cuts for a scrapbook page that I had there. So I've got this piece here and it's kind of polka dots, which I thought would be bringing in that polka dot challenge part a little bit more. And you can see here that one of those tags has a little bit of yellow on it, and so does one of the pieces of paper that I backed my photo with. So at the moment I'm just sort of building my page and popping bits together, and I've decided that I'm going to use some mixed stamped alphabet, because part of it was using mixed alpha title. So I have done that using these different stamp sets. Now these are ones that will be released on the 1st of September, so this is kind of a sneak peek at some stuff that's coming with close to my heart. And so as a maker we get access, if we've been to the convention, in this case it was online, we get access to some of the new products, and I got some bundles, and one of them included a few of these new alpha stamps. I really enjoy having the flexibility with these stamps. I love that I'm able to use lettering or create titles. Lots of times when you've used a sticker, you've used it, but a stamp, you can reuse it. And so here I am just stamping these onto the piece of paper, the piece of cardstock that I cut out from the back of my cardstock frame that was part of that first piece. And I've just used 4 different fonts for my title. Each word has 4 letters. So I've just done a quick rough cut around of that. And now I'm actually going to add some cat images as well. And so I am just inking those up and trying to find where I put it. It got lost into my layout. And I just stamp out 3 different cat images from a set that I had already. And one of the other components was to do some fussy cutting. So I'm going to fussy cut both these cat images as well as each letter for the title. So I'm just starting that process, and then I thought, right, I'm just going to trim these both down, turn my mat over and put these out before I start that cutting process, so I'm able to pop them down as I cut them. So I'm just sort of fussy cutting around these different stamped shapes, and I have now done that, as well as around each of the letters. Now, it also was that I needed to include a bow, and so I decided to tie in the idea of the pop of colour with orange or yellow, and make an orange bow. So I've just hand tied this, and I'm now trimming it down, and later on I will stick that sort of at the top of those flags that I've got in there, which was another part of the layout. So there's some extra yellow and orange. So now I'm going to stick down some of these elements, sort of finally got the idea of what I want, and so it's time to actually put the glue down and make it complete the project or complete the layout. So I'm roughing up the edges as I go, because I don't want it to be all neat and tidy, because again I'm trying to bring in that roughed up element of the kind of the frayed edges or the tassels that are showing on the dinosaur. And so now I've stuck down that polka dot, which is a little bit flat, so I'm just going to rough up those edges. And I decide at this point that I'm going to bring in some of the zip strips, the manufacturer strips, at the top and bottom of this kind of ledge. This one here was kind of cute, and I noticed it as I was trimming down the tag paper, and I also noticed this black and white stripe one at the same when I was cutting out the photo mats, and so I decided to use both of these, one at the top and one at the bottom, just to add another little element of interest to the page. It ends up being quite a busy page, but the simplicity, the photo is really standing out when it comes together, because it's kind of the clearest aspect of the page. So this wrinkled up paper, I did keep the manufacturer strip on that one. You can sort of see the dots down the bottom there. So now I'm just putting my photos on. I'm not putting them on straight. I'm trying to put them on in kind of a roughed up different way. And I'm using some foam tape here on the back, and I do finish this roll, which I probably would have put more if I hadn't quite finished it, but it will be more than enough to have that little bit of dimension and lift it up off the page so I can tuck some other embellishments in. So again, roughing up those edges, keeping it messy, and getting ready to stick down these tabs. And I decide to trim one of the bluey coloured ones off, and just using my little staple there, I bring them together before I stick them down onto the bottom left. And I'm just getting my bow, finishing it up, making it nice and neat and tidy. And then I have this new tacky tape that Close to My Heart are now carrying. I had some years ago, a similar one. This one's quite nice and thin, but it's going to have a really strong hold on that bow, which is perfect for what I was using it for. So just attaching the other cat that I fussy cut, past tense, need to get my language right, and I'm just using these little 3D foam dots, and I put them up the top here, and then I realise that I don't like them up there, and I come up with a new place to put them, but I'd already stuck the S down, so I had to sort of prise that up, and then I had to rub out the little foam dots off it, and I had to use a bit of force because they were quite a good permanent feature of that. Yeah, so just putting these little foam dots on the back of the letters and attaching them on the page with the foam dots. So they've got that little bit of pop, little bit of lift, and this is just a black ink on some white daisy cardstock to create a multi-font title. So there I go, I just rub off the little extra piece of the foam dot there. So it's kind of a showdown between the two cats as they're standing there. I probably should have cut out some of this. You don't really need to see me stick down all of the letters, but that's okay. Hey, I also managed to access a better tripod system, so I've really enjoyed not having to try and catch the phone or the tripod as it comes falling towards me as I've been putting this one together. So now a little bit of think time. I decided I'm just going to tape down that cat, but I'm going to use the foam dots on the other one just to lift it up a little bit. So it's just a cute little cat in a wee cup with a love heart. Now I wondered about colouring these stamped images in, but I decided not to. and I just used the fastener to attach that there, and I've got a journaling sticker from the Wander collection, and I'm just trying to work out where to put this. Now, the pink spotty paper, that blue background paper, and the sort of the quad paper that are there, they're all from the Party Time collection at Close to My Heart, and this is while stocks last, because this collection finishes at the end of August, and there's a whole new lot of stuff coming in September. So I'm just using some of the Daisy Meadows dots here, and I use basically a whole packet. I just really like how these acrylic dots just sort of give that little bit of extra interest and a little bit of dimension onto the page. So now I'm just going to give you some closer looks at what I have put together. You can see the layers, the letters that have popped up a little bit, the rough edges. You can see how those layers came together and the little cats peeking through the top. I hope that you have enjoyed seeing how I took on the 7 aspects of the Craft IQ challenge, and maybe you will join in next month too. And thanks team at Craft IQ for the inspiration for this month's page.